I'm pregnant.
Listen, guys, we're talking to you guys obviously about the crazy episode, obviously season 2 of Ultimatum Marry or Move, but we're talking specifically about Brian and Lisa. And one question is, are they still together? And what's the pregnancy update? Was it fake? Was it real? Well, it seems it was absolutely real. And so we're going to read an article that was speaking on their particular situation at this moment. I've also seen they've done an interview as well. So we'll review that on the next video. But there's more to come. And it's crazy because I think the situation with obviously Brian and Lisa, as I said before, there's domestics involved, right? This is DV situation when you put your hand in someone's face. But not only just that, I just think to myself that he's gonna feel like he's trapped, right? And his reaction actually in that video about the pregnancy was all we needed to know. But we're gonna read the article and we'll talk about that maybe in another video a bit more deeper about the situation where I feel like he's gonna. It's I don't feel like she trapped him, but he's gonna feel like he's trapped. But he's gonna have to take some responsibility and accountability because once you don't put a condom on, this is what happens, guys. Okay. All right. So if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor, like it, share, subscribe. We're trying to get to 100K. We want you guys to help us get to 100,000 subscribers. Please help us do that, and we can do that by literally clicking on the subscribe button as well. Okay, we've just reached 75K. Let's get to 100K. I want to get that lovely plaque and say, you know, how hard we've been working. All right, let's get into this. Let's get into this video. Let's talk a little bit about this particular news thing that said, obviously here. Okay, so this contains major spoilers as well. So if you haven't seen the season, please don't. I haven't watched past episode 2. So it's going to be a bit of a spoiler for me. The most dramatic moment of Ultimatum, Marry or Move On. Season 2's first 8 episodes came early on. When the original couple, Lisa Horn and Brian Okoye, which means I think he's Nigerian, got into a blowout fight in episode 2. Well, first and foremost, it wasn't about episode 2 that was a blowout fight. It was episode 1 that was a madness because she put her hand in his face. Why we focus on the part 2 when they had an argument? That wasn't a fight, it was an argument. A double whammy shocker came next. Lisa soon heard she was pregnant. She and Brian chose to leave the show prematurely. As a result, co-host Nick Lacey announced her pregnancy and the pair's departure to the rest of the cast of the choosing ceremony in episode 3. During the cocktail during first cocktail hour after breakups, Lisa, who issued the ultimatum Brian, didn't like watching her ex-boyfriend spend a one-to-one time with Rhea, who received the ultimatum from Trey. She interrupted their harmless chat, and the fight devolved from there. I want to say this again. It was not a fight. This is the problem I have with the language that's being spoken of. It is not a fight if you are arguing with me and then I put my hand in your face. At that point, you are assaulting me. And we're saying fight as if two of them put hands on each other. It wasn't. But I digress. While arguing outside, Lisa called Rhea a Hooters beat and Dent asked female, despite only being on day 2 of the experiment and hardly knowing the woman. Lisa also hit Brian's face during their heated exchange. Viewers saw when Lisa told Brian about the baby and the pair seemed excited and happy. Correction, I'm going to show you a clip. He didn't seem that happy. At first, he did not. The reaction was not one of shock. It was one of, done got this chick pregnant. They said in this talk, and they didn't want a baby to be the reason they stay together. Given that Lisa and Brian still together now, TV Insider caught up with the pair to find out. Me and Brian are in a really great place. We are still together, happily still together. So everything's good right now, Lisa tells them TV Insider. Nowadays, they're busy raising their child, and it took a lot of work for them to get to this happy place. Lisa explains what caused her meltdown in episode 2. I think prior to the cocktail party, I was fine. I was just like, we're in an experiment. I'm the one who dragged him here. I'm open to see what happens. I was already feeling high anxiety. I'm not gonna lie, I was very anxious, but once we got there, and just, I don't know, it's just being in that close, intimate setting and seeing the person you love engage with other potential partners that may be perfect fit for them. I was just like, it's too much. I lost it. It was just intense. That's how I was feeling, very intense. She says, despite bringing her partner to the experiment and despite them having technically broken up, watching Brian date other people will still felt like cheating. I know it's crazy to say because it's like you willingly go to experiment. That is a choice that you both make amicably, but it still feels like, oh my God, you're cheating on me. Lisa says, obviously, that's not the case, but that's how I feels. There's no grieving period for the relationship, she adds. You get that night to sleep on it, and then boom, you go on the next day. So yeah, it was intense. Brian says he wasn't all that surprised by Lisa's interjection. I thought maybe it was time that she wanted to have a conversation with both of us or just me, which is perfectly fine because at that point, everybody had a conversation with someone that they wanted to explore more with or just get to know more, he explains. But I think kind of how it escalated was a shocker to me. I didn't want it or expect it to get to that level. I don't think she did either, he goes on. I think in that moment, though, it was just so many emotions flowing. It was kind of hard to hold. And I think once you're in that moment, you want to get your point across so passionately about it that you don't realize what's actually really going on until afterwards. Receiving an ultimatum, honestly, participating in the experience was wild for Brian. Making sense of it all required looking at as his new reality and sense of, because that's what we agreed that we would do in order to hopefully better ourselves and potentially better our relationship. Lisa wasn't alone in her struggle to adjust to the experiment. I think it became more and more really real actually seeing it, he says, and for me it became real too. The pregnancy changed everything, and a lot of deep talks were had after leaving the show in order to work through what happened during the filming. In the moment of deciding to leave, no, there wasn't much of a conversation there. It was like, what's the right thing to do for what's to become our family and a child we're bringing into this world, he says, on the departure. But once we left, yeah, the conversation about the fight definitely was had. She took accountability for her actions, and I did too, in a sense of just realizing that a lot of those emotions she had weren't stemming from that moment. It was prior stuff before even coming on the show that we since resolved. Okay. So he says that she's taking accountability. I'll wait for one of her interviews to come out to see if she's taking accountability, right? Because old boy looks like he's lost in the haze. I'm gonna be real with you. I think Brian is lost in the haze. And when you're trying to protect your partner, it reminds me of the Miles and Karen situation. When you end up trying to protect your partner, which, you know what? In those times, I would have done the same. I'm a very loyal person, and I always want to defend the person that I'm with. I always want to defend the partner I'm with. I always want to make sure that my partner is not exposed. So I would have done exactly the same. I just realized I could have just read this and been next to the camera, but it's cool. I would have done exactly the same. But in all reality, can I be real with you? In all reality, in this situation, right? I realized I could have been here and reading at the same time. I didn't realize. But in all reality, this situation, let's see, wait till her interview or wait till the reunion. Let's see if she takes accountability then, because you be telling us she took accountability, and I don't know if you know. I don't know if your definition of accountability is the same as mine, right? I don't know if she, I don't know if her saying a quick sorry might have worked for you, right? But the reality is, for me, this kind of behavior, mushing someone in the face, is abusive, and a quick sorry can't solve it. What are our commitments to change? Are we going therapy? Are we committing ourselves to anger management class? What are we doing to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Because let me tell you this now, it can't happen again. You have now got a child. It can't happen again. I'm sorry. We had this conversation yesterday and on the live, and there is no excuse for me for putting your hand in someone's face, man or woman. If it was a man doing it, I would have said this relationship needs to be over now. We don't play them games. You don't ever have to get to a point where your hand is in someone's face, accountability or not. I personally think it should be over. Right? I know some people say they might forgive, but for me, a lot of personal things changed after going into the experiment, says Lisa, especially in regards to how I wanted to go about my relationship going forward, in regards to being very adamant about what I wanted. And not only that, but I was also learning to respect him on another level and myself on a different level, and just learning how to compromise. Now, what kind of respect did you have with him before? Clearly none, because you put your hands in his face. And that's why I said it's about a respect level. When someone puts their hand in your face, they don't respect you one bit. When someone puts their hand in your face, they don't respect you one bit. They don't respect you one bit. When someone puts their hand in your face, they do not respect you one bit at all. So yes, and that was something that I wasn't too big on going into the experiment, which led to the ultimatum. But I'm very big on that now and giving each other a greater relationship. Well, are you guys getting married? Are you guys getting married? That's the question. Are y'all getting married? Right? After that situation, are y'all getting married? That's my question. Okay. Now there was I wanted to even bring this up because there was I wanted to bring this up because, well, actually, I'll do another video. I don't want to mess up. But I was gonna definitely bring up another thingy for the video, right? Where they were talking about what happened on Instagram between the two of them. I need to follow them because obviously, clearly, they seem a little bit mad. But I want to be very clear. Listen, pregnancy doesn't change nothing, and a baby doesn't change what you just did. And I think for me, watching Brian and Lisa, if Brian loves it, if Brian likes it, we love it, right? But I want to be very clear. What we have seen, you can't just say a little sorry and move past it. This is like, if she'd been shouting and doing a hoot and stuff, I could have said, you know what, maybe you can say sorry and kind of move past it. But clearly, this is regular behavior. It's happened before, all right? Because you spoke about it, about her adverse reactions beforehand, right? And I have to be honest that there's two sides to the coin, which is that, Brian, why would you willingly stay in a situation, want to accept it? Right? Like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button. Let me know your thoughts. They're obviously still together. And not only that, but it seems that they are making a great work of the parenting as well, which we are glad about. I just think we need to have a real conversation about the fact that that was abusive, and hopefully this never happens again. And he said they've had a conversation, so it should be cool, right? Like, share, subscribe, guys. Help us get to 100.